Hi everyone, this is Tami from the blog Nutmeg Notebook, and you are here today on Tuesday. This is Tuesday with Tami and Tom. Tom's behind the camera right now, but he's getting ready to come around and sit down at the computer. And we do this, we try anyway, every Tuesday afternoon to do a live YouTube show. So we have a blog called Nutmeg Notebook. Here's Tom.
Hello everybody. I'm going to check to make sure we've got sound in such and out. So if you don't hear us, please leave me a note.
That would be nice. So Tom's going to be moderating the comments for us. So if you have questions, you can leave those questions for us in the comments and we'll try to work those in. So we usually pick a topic each week, but today we're actually having a Q&A session. So last Tuesday, I posted for Transformation Tuesday, which is a popular thing on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. And I posted my before and after. Oh, I should have grabbed my before picture to show them because it is Transformation Tuesday. And I said, what is your greatest challenge when it comes to eating plant-based and or losing weight? And a lot of people left me wonderful comments, and so I wanted to address some of their issues because I too have had some of those issues over the year.
Tami says we're coming through loud and clear.
Okay.
But not you.
But not me.
It's a different
That
thing.
confused me just slightly. Could you go grab out of my office? Could you grab my before picture?
Okay.
One of them. They're over by the dehydrator.
Be right back.
Not everybody has a food dehydrator in their office, but I do because it just is so noisy. I don't want it out in my kitchen if it has to run for like 10 or 12 hours. So I keep my dehydrator in my office, and I do use it. I have an Excalibur, I think it's a 9 tray, and it's awesome. So I don't use it as often as I should. I'm just so busy, but eventually we will. So some people, oh, here he comes. We'll do this first. So here's some of my before. I just want you to know that I walk the talk, that I used to be very overweight, and I have, through a whole food, plant-based, oil-free lifestyle, I have been able to lose weight and maintain my weight. So here's 2 pictures of what I looked like at my highest weight. I was 174 pounds. These pictures, are they showing up on there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So these pictures were taken at a trip that we took to Europe, and it was before cell phones and the digital camera craze. And when we got home and I got the film developed, I was horrified. I honestly did not think I was this big. So I went right to Weight Watchers in 2002, and I was weighing, this was my top weight not being pregnant, I weighed 174 pounds, and I'm only 5'4". So that was a lot of weight, and I actually did back then got down to my goal weight and maintained it for a couple of years, and then I just went back to eating the standard American diet, and not in a good way, and I ballooned back up, but not all the way. I never did gain back all of the weight, and this is what I looked like when I started a whole food plant-based diet back in 2013. So, and I have been slim again since I'm maintaining since about 2015, and it's fantastic, and I'll never go back. So because there's no counting, there's no weighing, there's no measuring. I love my whole food plant-based lifestyle. So anyway, I went from 174 pounds down to, I fluctuate between 125 and 128 pounds, and it just depends on what I've been eating, I suppose, and weight just fluctuates depending on whether you're retaining water or whatever is happening. But it's very easy to lose weight and maintain weight on a whole food plant-based diet, and sometimes you have to customize that. And I had to, I got rid of oil and sugar and reduced my salt intake drastically. We don't salt the food that we cook, and I don't eat flour, and I don't consume alcohol. And because of that, I can eat really large quantities of whole food plant-based food and feel satisfied, and I'm honestly never really hungry because I'm giving my body all the nourishment and the nutrients that it needs. So it's not causing me to crave stuff because it's satisfied. Was there a comment or a question or something?
No.
No, okay.
No,
So-
I mean, yes, but I'm having issues with my screen right now. I'm trying to resize my screen.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so I'm going to start in with some of these questions. And the first one that I'm going to address is someone asked me, and I think it was on Facebook, if we use any frozen fruits and vegetables. And yes, we do. So I grabbed just a few things to show you. So one thing that we try to always have on hand is the Trader Joe's organic frozen corn. We use it in a ton of recipes. We just like it heated up and added to so many things. If you saw the video that we did the Tuesday with Tami and Tom a few weeks ago, and Tom showed you how he makes his Mexican chopped salad, and he uses this corn in it. So he eats some of this every single day.
when in doubt, eat corn.
Is that it? Well, it's a starch, and it's very satisfying, and it's sweet, and it's just very filling, and it's low calorie
Goes
density.
well in so many kinds of dishes.
It does. So we use a lot of this. We keep this on hand. I think the other day when we went, we bought 6 bags because we had gotten out of it. And then this is the frozen Brussels sprouts from Trader Joe's. So it's just a fun little bag. It's microwavable. We just put them in a dish and microwave them. We first had these when we went to Chef AJ's house for training last April, and she would make these in the morning, and we would all just go crazy snacking on them. They're really small and they're super sweet. They're really delicious. I wish that they're organic, but they're not. And you know, the plant-based doctors tell us that it's better just to eat the vegetables, whether they're organic or conventionally grown. It's better to eat conventionally grown than to not eat them. So, you know, there's a few things that we buy that are not organic, and this is one of them because they are so delicious and they're very inexpensive. It seems like they're around $1, somewhere around $1. I can't remember exactly, but very inexpensive. You know, you don't have to do anything to them. That's why Chef AJ loves them, because they're already trimmed and cleaned. They're ready to eat. So don't we love convenience? Fantastic. Another thing that I like to keep on hand are these frozen artichoke hearts, also from Trader Joe's. And I like them because they don't have any added salt. You know, the ones that you buy in the can do have added salt to them. And I like these because they don't have any added salt. You can throw these in with whatever grain you have. If you're going to do like the oven roasted ratatouille, I have a video and a blog post on that. You can throw these in that. You can toss them in with some rice and some tomatoes and some garbanzo beans and some Italian seasoning, and just create a really wonderful nourish bowl. So these are really fun to have on hand. Then the other thing that we like is the frozen hash browns. Now these are from Sprouts. The only ingredient is organic potatoes. So many of them have salt added to them, and it might say, it might have a different word. It might say dextrose, or it might have some other word on the package, but these are only potatoes. There's no added salt. So we really like these in our Cuisinart griddler. And you may have seen the video that we did a few weeks ago where we showed you how we make no oil hash browns with these using the Cuisinart griddler. So that just works out so great. They're super crunchy and delicious. And if you miss having like a cracker or bread with your soup, if you make these hash browns without oil, they can get really crisp, and it will satisfy that craving to have something crunchy along with a bowl of soup or even with a salad. So Tom, do you want to pop these back in the freezer for me?
I'll go ahead and just run them out.
You're going to run them to the garage? Yeah, we have an extra freezer in our garage, and we batch prep a lot. So those of you who follow us know that people call me the batch cooking queen because I don't want to spend all my time in the kitchen. So when I do cook, I double up recipes, and then we freeze a lot of things so that we always have what we call fast food on hand that's healthy and nutritious. And you know what? It's a lot less expensive than eating out and so much more healthy. So that answers that about the frozen foods. You're going to want to grab a towel and dry this because that stuff made a mess. Thanks, honey. Okay, so when I was asking people about what their biggest challenge is, someone said, how do I stay full after lunch? Do I just need to eat more? Well, I don't know what you're eating, and so it's hard to answer specifically to yours, but here's what you need to know. In order to feel satiated, you can't eat just vegetables. You have to have some starch. So we follow a starch-based program. It's low calorie density, but you have to have the starch in order to feel full. So things like potatoes and corn and sweet potatoes and rice and millet, amaranth, quinoa, what am I missing? Oat groats.
Well, the sweet potatoes. I mean, my lunch today is a great example. There was some ginger soup, ginger squash soup in the freezer.
Curry ginger soup recipe that you can get by subscribing to our blog, Nutmeg Notebook. When you go there and subscribe, you will immediately get an email sent to you with a link to a PDF where you get 2 exclusive recipes, one being the curry ginger butternut squash soup, and it is dynamite. We get emails and Facebook posts all the time from people telling us how much they enjoy that recipe. So subscribe to get it. Sorry, I cut you off.
Well, we need to know where to get the recipe, though. But I just had this bowl of soup, and I did put, maybe a cup of rice in it. But it's a cream soup, so it's not going to really fill me up like eating a pound of steamed vegetables like I usually do. But we were late getting home from our errand this morning. And so I just added a whole sweet potato, air-fried sweet potato on the side. What kind are those called?
It was a Stokes.
A Stokes. And so
Purple.
I diced that up and we air-fried it for 20 minutes. And so that really completed and put a lot of body and starch with otherwise what would have been a simple soup. And the rice and soup may have filled up Tami, but probably not my stomach. So
it wasn't quite this bad.
It wasn't that big.
But it's a Stokes, and the Stokes are purple inside. And we really love it when you take, because we batch prep our sweet potatoes and our regular potatoes. Once a week, we bake them for the whole week. And of course, if we didn't do enough, if we run out, we go ahead and bake some more. But the starch in potatoes really changes when it is allowed to sit in the refrigerator. Something magical happens. And then when you cut them open and air fry them, they become so amazing. It makes them more caramelized. The sugars come to the...
Are you hiding the caramelized side there? Is it just
well, no, it's just sticky. So you can see how it's caramelized here. But when we put it in the air fryer, we like to either cut them up and put them in there, or at least score them like how a pineapple looks. So we go diagonally one direction and then diagonally the other direction. And that just helps all those sugars come up to the surface, and the air fryer kind of crisps them up. The skin gets all nice and crispy, and it just makes them more delicious. So, and whether you eat it right then or you eat it a little bit later, it doesn't matter. It still makes them taste so much better. So in order to feel full from lunch until dinner, you have to have an adequate amount of starch along with your vegetables. Do you think you can? I'm sticky now. Could you get me?
You're high maintenance
I
today.
know. Could you get me a wet towel?
So for our listeners, are you going to want to go through these, and then we'll come back and scan through the questions?
Sure.
So please,
in case they're the
please
same.
do keep dropping your
I'll
questions.
go wash
here.
my hands real quick while you
They
talk.
don't have to be on the topic that she's talking about at the moment, but what we'll do is we'll go back to the top towards when she's done with the what do you want to call them, pre-submitted questions. Then we'll come back and we'll catch your live questions here. So
Great.
we'll do it that way.
Good job. Good
All
job.
right. So
Okay.
Now, if something is very pertinent to what she's talking about, however, I will nudge her and we'll include that in the conversation we're in the middle of. So.
Okay, so make sure that you're getting enough starch along with your vegetables. And if you do get hungry mid-afternoon, maybe you need a little more starch, or maybe you need some vegetables to eat. I don't always like to have like just a piece of fruit because it's sweet, and sometimes that will make me want more sweets. But you know, I like sugar snap peas or the colorful sweet bell peppers. I like those cut up, or you could have a little bit of hummus. Because that would also, you know, beans, legumes are also starch. So, you know, maybe include some more starch with your lunch. So another person says that their biggest challenges are staying away from fat and sugar. Well, you have to allow yourself time to neuroadapt. Initially, when you adopt a healthy lifestyle, especially a plant-based lifestyle that's salt, oil, and sugar free, initially you're going to have cravings because we get a dopamine hit when we eat those things. And the more high calorie density the foods are, which salt, oil, and well, salt doesn't have calories, but oil and sugar, and salt usually accompanies oil and sugar in those high calorie density foods, you get a big dopamine hit. And so your brain wants that. That's the pleasure chemical in our brain. And so it's going to keep telling you that it wants that. Plus, just your memory, your sensory memory of those foods, when you first adopt a healthy lifestyle, that memory is very strong. And so we're triggered by cues. It's seeing the food, hearing someone talk about the food, it's smelling the food. You know, that's why commercials are so powerful for advertisers, because they really work. It also, those cues, they could be other types of like social cues. It could be people that you normally eat that food with. It could be going to a certain store or driving by a certain restaurant. Or, you know, if you associate watching a movie or watching TV or, you know, some other kind of activity along with eating those foods, all of those cues will make you want that food again. But here's the thing. You have to remember that the craving for that, the thought and the desire for wanting to eat it is just a sensation. And a sensation's going to pass. So you don't have to give into this sensation. You just have to wait it out. Normally they pass in about 10 minutes. So if you can do a 10-minute wait, and you'll need to distract yourself from that, especially if it's breaking a habit of normally, let's say it's eating after dinner while you're watching TV. You're going to have to replace the bad habit with a healthier habit. So, you know, maybe you're going to take up knitting or crocheting or something to keep your hands busy. Maybe you're not going to watch TV after dinner. Maybe you're going to do a physical activity instead. You know, you have to really plan and be strategic initially in order to get past that phase. So here's what you need to know, that it takes about 30 days for your brain to neuroadapt to giving up salt. Now, some people say it takes them longer, and it depends on how much salt you were using. I was not a heavy salt user. When I started a whole food plant-based diet, I had already kind of cleaned up my act somewhat. And so it was only about 30 days that it took me to neuroadapt. In the meantime, you just need to use a lot of seasonings that are not salt in order to flavor your food and make your food taste good. And in fact, we have a video, we did one of our Tuesdays with Tami, all about how to cook SOS free. And so there's so many different things that you can use, from vinegars to seasonings to different techniques, different foods that are salty. So be sure and watch that video. Now for oil, it takes anywhere from 90 to 120 days. And not just oil to neuroadapt to the lack of oil, but to neuroadapt to the not having the high fat foods. So just remember that it's going to take about 3 months, maybe a little bit longer, depends on how deep you were into what's called the pleasure trap of eating those high calorie density foods that are full of salt, oil, and sugar. Trust me, you will adapt. Now, I actually found that giving up oil was pretty easy to do. You didn't really have any issues with that
Once
either.
I learned how to saute with water or to saute in the ceramic pan, and that I was tied to the idea that you had to have a spray of oil to saute things, but when I found out you didn't, then you don't crave oil. Oil doesn't have
the draw.
No,
but people miss things that are made with oil, like French fries, crunchy, crispy things, but that's where an air fryer comes in.
There's a comment right now that I was just talking to. There's a conversation going on here. It's from, I think Virginia started it. I'm still trying to kick cravings for munchies. Would using an air fryer help to satisfy my craving for crunchy? I've been thinking about buying a basic air fryer. Mary Caldwell says air fried potatoes are amazing, and I said, Virginia, yes, watch our mashed potatoes video.
Yes.
And that's just a basic starter one of how to make something out of a left of the a low calorie density food, and make it crunchy and make it fun, but it's still a very basic, no salt or oil added to that, and it's one of our favorite. We have it with the meal, but it's kind of just makes it special or fun or something because it's got a little bit of crunch.
Because it's crispy, yeah. Because you don't want soft foods all the time. So if you're missing the crispy, crunchy, then an air fryer is great. Now we have the Breville Smart Oven Air that you can see back here, and it's like a huge toaster oven. It's like a toaster oven on steroids, and we have a video all about that. And we love it. And then we also have the Milky Crisp Lid, which just sits on top of any electric 6 or 8 quart pressure cooker, and it turns it into an air fryer. And it does a smaller quantity.
So if you have a 6 quart or an 8 quart pressure cooker, you've already got half of it. And the Crisp Lid it's under $100 to suddenly have a little air fryer. I'll put our links to that, our affiliate links for the Milky affiliate link is directly to Milky, and then the one for the...
You want to grab the Crisp Lid and we'll just show them what it looks like.
Okay.
This is why we do this in our kitchen, you guys, is because then as things come up, we can just go to the cupboard or the pantry or the fridge and grab stuff to show you, because these are all the things that we have discovered that make this lifestyle easier. And we've been eating whole food plant-based since 2013. So we have figured out a lot at this point on how to make it easier.
Sorry for the noise.
That's okay.
So this just sits right on top of I'm in the picture, right on top of the pressure cooker, and it has a fan assembly and a heating coil in there. It is glass, so you can see through it. There's a whole video on this too. Just go to the Milky Crisp Lid. It's a product review video, and so all the information on something like this, which is really an economical way to get into air frying.
It is.
And small and easy to store. Some of the air fryers are pretty big.
And it works really great. So some nights Tom will be air frying something in the Breville, and I'll want to do my potatoes, and he's using the whole tray in the Breville. So I'll get out the Milky and I'll do the Milky on top of one of our pressure cookers and air fry something for me, because I like that crispy, crunchy, and it's amazing what you can make in the air fryer without any oil. It's delicious. So going still back to the biggest challenge being getting away from fat and sugar. So you never neuroadapt to not wanting sugar. I know. It's the one thing that we're born with. We are born with the desire to want something sweet, because breast milk, a mother's breast milk, is sweet. So although that you never get past wanting something, here's what happens. The longer you stay away from salt, oil, and sugar and high calorie density foods, the memory in your brain starts to fade, the cravings start to fade. So the more distance you get between having eaten that and not eaten it, the easier it gets to abstain from it. That is great news. Also, with the whole sugar thing, the longer you stay away from eating refined sugar products or flour products, the better natural food tastes. Pretty soon, fruit tastes amazing. It will taste so sweet to you. In fact, there's some things that now are just too sweet, like those cotton candy grapes, and there was some other grape that we just tasted recently that Whole Foods had, and they were doing a tasting of. And sometimes that stuff now is just too sweet. So if you abstain long enough, the good news is that you will stop craving it, and then natural food will taste amazing to you. So now we make our desserts with fruit. We either make them using frozen fruit in the Champion juicer, which makes incredible nice cream, is what, you know, the plant-based eaters and the vegans call it. But you can make that in a variety of ways, and we did a video on that. And I make cobblers. So we have a Perry. Perry is a cross between cherries and peaches.
Oh.
We have the cherry peach cobbler.
Do you have a patent on that?
I don't have a patent on that. And it's just amazing. And then we use my quinoa banana oat muffin mix mixed with bananas and applesauce on top to make the topping so that you have a nice crispy, crunchy little crust on top, which is delicious. So there's lots of ways to still indulge your sweet tooth. And I used to be an incredible baker. I loved to bake. I loved to make desserts and all kinds of things. And now I don't have a need to do that. I am so satisfied with very simple fruit-based desserts. And it's amazing to me that that could even happen. But trust me, it does. So the longer you eat healthy, the easier it gets. So they say that we crave the foods that we habitually eat. So if you habitually eat healthy food, you will crave healthy food. And we have certainly found that to be true. We absolutely love all of the fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes that we get to eat, and we are perfectly happy and satisfied eating that way all the time. So hang in there, and just know that every time you cross back over and start eating the higher calorie density foods, the more processed foods, anything with salt, oil, sugar, flour, or even, indulging in alcohol, it reignites that desire for those foods, and then it ignites the cravings again, and it makes it more difficult to eat healthy. And so the reason we continually eat healthy is because we always want our healthy food to taste good to us. And if you start indulging in the other stuff, it makes the healthy food not taste as great.
Mary asked me to put the Crisp Lid link in on this feed here, so I've just dropped it into the description box, which you'll find if you click on Show More. You can wait till after the video's over. I saved it and put it in there. So, but I also put next to there's a discount code, and for the Crisp Lid, I believe it's Nutmeg 10, and that will take $10 off the price of the Crisp Lid. If you're buying like a pressure cooker or and some other combination products, and it's more money, you just put in Nutmeg Notebook and they apply a discount to that. But on the Crisp Lid, I believe it's Nutmeg 10 and adjust the price of that. So anyway, I did that link for you, but don't forget to try that discount code and see if you can save a few dollars.
Yeah, that is an affiliate link. We really like the products that Milky makes, and so we did become associates with them. And just know that we only promote products or have an affiliation with companies whose products we really like, actually use in our own home, and think would be good for you. And we turn down offers every week for things because it's like, no, or we try something and we don't like it. Okay, so that was about neuroadaptation. Another question was, What do you do when your biggest challenge is eating whole food, plant-based diet without anyone to share with because all of your family and friends are carnivores? So that is more common than you might believe. So we run into people all the time. We get questions on Facebook. We get emails from people asking us about that. So we did do a video called, what did we call that video? Finding a Community or something like that. We did a Tuesday with Tami where we addressed that. So what you need to do is you need to find some like-minded individuals. So one thing that we recommend, and I'm not going to go through everything that you can do because we do have a video that talks about this that we did some weeks back, but go on to meetup.com and look for either vegan groups or whole food plant-based groups in your area, or look for Forks Over Knives groups or Plant Pure Nation groups. And those are all groups that are whole food plant-based. The Forks Over Knives groups should be no oil. Also look for, see if there's any Engine 2 groups, and that's on meetup.com. It's a free to the user to go on and make an account. It's free to you. The people that have created groups on there pay a monthly fee in order to advertise their group meetings.
Did you do a blog post on it as well that lists a lot of this stuff? There's a blog post on that.
I don't know if there's a blog post or not, but I know that we did a video on it, and it was all about creating a sense of community. So also Facebook groups. You know, originally that's what Tom and I had. We didn't know anyone in our community that was eating the same way that we were, but I had joined Chef AJ's Ultimate Weight Loss group, and they had where you could sign in on the Facebook group and put in where you live. And then I discovered that all these other people in my area that were on Ultimate Weight Loss, and so then we formed a group, and now, you know, we're good friends with a lot of these people. So we're also very fortunate. We live in Sacramento, in the Sacramento, California area, and the president of our local chapter of the Vegan Society is also a huge advocate for eating healthy, and she follows the McDougall plan. So Linda Middlesworth, you may have heard her name in the plant-based community, and she also has the V-Dog, which is vegan dog food company. And so she puts on all kinds of activities locally for us with plant-based speakers that she brings in. So in fact, we have Dr. Greger coming in February. So check your Vegan Society. You might have a local group that might also be doing health promoting things, but just know that not just because people are eating vegan doesn't mean they're eating healthy, because there's a lot of vegan junk food out there, and not all vegans are tapped into the eating healthy side of it. Yeah. But also look for Facebook groups for whole food, plant-based, no oil, and see if there's anybody on there that's in your area. I recently went to Nebraska to visit my family there, and I just asked on my Facebook page for Nutmeg Notebook, is there anyone from Nebraska that follows my page? And there was like 6 people. I was so surprised that there were like 6 people in Nebraska that were eating this way. So you never know. There could be someone close.
I think that discussion of the things you were just talking about, the different resources for community, were perhaps in Tuesday with Tami number 9. Tami's 10 tips for healthy weight loss, whole foods, plant-based diet.
I don't know.
Is it part of that?
It could have been. We'll have to look and see.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's got its whole own thing. It's number 10. Tuesday with Tami, number 10, okay. The value of plant-based community and support. So we go on for quite a bit of detail on how, what we've employed to achieve that. So yeah, go back when you have time and watch Tuesday with Tami, number 10.
Yeah, so just finding a little sense of community, even if you just find it online, just to have those people who are like-minded in your pocket is just so valuable. And then if you eventually find some people also in your community, then that makes it even nicer. So also you can, look on Eventbrite, see if there's whole food plant-based events coming. You can check, if your health food store has a bulletin board. I mean, there's lots of different ways to find people, and we do talk about that in that video. And another person said their biggest challenge is not knowing many people eating this way, and even so, they would never return to the standard American diet. So I agree with that. It would be, once you do this and you feel so good, it would be just horrifying to go back and eating any other way. Okay, somebody else said their challenge is stress eating. So if you have a lot of stress and you eat to cope with that, which is, that's a comfort, you get a dopamine hit, it feels good, then you need to take that habit of stuffing your face when you're stressed and do something else. And so you need to make a whole list of things that you could do other than eating. It can be, going on the computer and getting distracted. It could be going for a walk. It could, if you keep a food mood journal, you can discover if there's a specific time every day that happens. And if so, then you can pre-plan for it. So initially, until you can break that habit, you could, instead of eating something that's high calorie density or high fat or high sugar, you could substitute something that is healthier. So it could be raw vegetables, it could be cooked vegetables, it could be fruit, it could be air fried sweet potato. Initially you might need to substitute something healthier and then work on how can you break that habit, or how can you start to de-stress. Can you do some yoga? Can you do some meditation? Can you go for a walk? Like, walking is one of the greatest things to use as a stress reducer and to help with mild depression. And it makes you feel good. It makes, Dr. Doug Lyle's always talking about our internal audience. It makes your internal audience so happy and so proud of you when you do some exercise or you do something positive for yourself. So we just need to build on that and, find some ways to de-stress, and then also just make a whole list of things that you can do instead of eating. And it will take willpower to begin with. It will take discipline, and you're going to have to plan for this and make a whole list of all the things that you could do instead. And remember that urge, that feeling of wanting to eat is going to pass, just like hunger passes. Okay, so today we were at our daughter's house watching the kids, and things ran later than we thought they would, and we didn't take lunch with us. And at about noon, I started to get hungry, and that feeling was a little bit strong. I wasn't starving, but it was strong. And about 15 minutes later, I realized that feeling had completely passed. And I was no longer thinking, oh, I wish I would have brought my lunch. So hunger kind of comes in waves, and so does cravings comes in waves, and you just have to ride it out. So initially, if your habit, when you're stressed or having anxiety, or when, for me, it's when I'm tired, if that has always been when you've gone and eaten something, it'll take a while to break that habit, but you can certainly break the habit and you can create a new, healthier habit. So I hope it helped. I hope that helps. Another person said, my biggest challenge is fitting this lifestyle in with the rest of my family. I have a 12 and 15-year-old. One is plant-based, one is mostly plant-based, but to tell them that they can't have bread or sweets occasionally just wouldn't work. So all that stuff is in my house, tempting me every moment. I also struggle with eating out, which is a big part of our social life. So first, let's talk about the family having those things in the house that tempt you. So if you're trying to lose weight and you have a kitchen or a pantry full of that stuff, it is going to make it much, much harder. So Dr. Doug Lisle, who is a psychologist who is also plant-based, and he specializes in dealing with people who eat plant-based like we do, he says that we have to work harder on our environment than anything else when we're trying to lose weight. And we already talked earlier about all those cues that we see, hear, and smell that make us desire to have the food, and they create cravings. So even just seeing those things in your house, that's like a commercial. Just think about how your whole environment, especially your kitchen, you guys, is like a commercial. And we know that the food manufacturers spend thousands and thousands of dollars on advertising. Why? Because it's so successful. I mean, if you see a commercial 10 times for, product A, eventually you're gonna go buy product A and try it, right? And so it's the same in your house. So when I joined the Ultimate Weight Loss Group, and I told Tom, we've got to clean up the environment, and I don't want these trigger foods to be here for me anymore. And one thing was chips. I wouldn't go buy them, but if they were here in my pantry, I was going to be really tempted to get into those. I mean, tortilla chips with salsa. Yeah, right? And so I was like, we just have to get those out of sight. I just don't want to see them. So we put a lot of stuff in a cabinet, a metal cabinet out in our garage. And guess what happened? Not only did I forget about them, but this guy forgot about them. We ended up pitching a lot of stuff because out of sight is out of mind, right?
Yeah.
Because the food was out there, we weren't seeing it, which meant we weren't thinking about it.
There were some manufactured snack bars I used to eat. They were plant-based, but they were full of soy protein isolates or something. We were out there cleaning the other day, and they were like expired a half a year ago.
Or even longer.
Yeah.
So what you could do is ask your family if they could eat some of those things outside of the house. So you're not telling them they can't have them, but would they be willing to eat those outside of the house instead of inside the house? Or if they bring them inside the house, could they buy a small portion and just eat them so that they will be gone? If that's not a workable solution, if you have a second refrigerator, you could put all of your food in the second refrigerator so that you don't have to see their stuff. Or if you don't have a second refrigerator, perhaps their stuff can go in a drawer in the refrigerator so that you don't have to see it. Because when I open up my refrigerator, I want to just see healthy food. We'll just open up the refrigerator. Oh, there's your salsa. I just want to see, I've got my salads, I have fruit, this is some butternut squash, there's rice, there's mushrooms, there's potatoes back there. I just want to see the healthy food. So if you could ask them if maybe you could put their stuff in a drawer, so in the refrigerator, so you don't have to see it. In the pantry, same thing. Maybe your stuff can be front and center. Maybe their stuff can be up high. Like I'm only 5'4". To get up on the top shelves in our pantry, I have to use a step stool. So maybe some things could go up where you'd have to climb on a step stool to get them, so it wouldn't be easy. Or maybe your stuff can be front and center, their stuff can be down low, more towards the floor. I mean, see if you can just work out some solutions. Or maybe there's a cupboard that your stuff can go in so you don't have to see their things, or vice versa. Maybe their things can go in the cupboard, in a special cupboard. So see if you can work that out with them. Or maybe they'll give you the gift, like you could say for Christmas, for 30 days, I would just like to not have that stuff in the house and see how I do.
How are you doing on the list there? We have a number of questions to get
Okay,
to.
yeah, I've got another. So for eating out, just remember that for eating out, that you're going for the social part of it. You're not going for the food. So, pre-eat, eat before you go, have a nice healthy meal before you go. You can always just order a small side salad and, kind of pick at that so you can be with the group. If they all order dessert, order some herbal hot teas, then you've got something nice and warm to drink, and you have something to do with your hands while everyone else is having dessert. If you can move people towards going someplace to eat that you can get something healthy, that's an option as well. I oftentimes take a cut up potato in a container in my purse, and I will take my own flavored vinegar, and then I will just order a plain salad and I will dump the potato on it. Sometimes I'll even take some beans, some drained, no salt oil beans with me, and I'll dump a potato and some beans on the salad, and nobody really cares what I'm eating. They're all involved in what they're eating, and I'm perfectly happy to do that. And I think we have a video all about how to eat healthy anywhere. That was one of our Tuesdays with Tami, and watch that because I give you lots of ideas on how to go to restaurants. Someone else asked, what is your favorite vegan homemade burger? You have some on your website, but I need encouragement. My attempts seem to fall apart. So lately, I'm going to say for like 6 months or even longer, probably even longer than that, I've been making the no bean burgers out of Chef AJ's book, this one here. And we have this on our Amazon store. Many of you probably already have it because many of our followers are also big fans of Chef AJ. And she also has a Chipotle burger in here that's also very good. I do end up adding some oats to that recipe because they're always too soft for me. Also, I do not bake veggie burgers. I have never had luck baking veggie burgers. They always dry out and get all crumbly for me. Instead, I like to make them into my patties, and I don't think it's a video. It might be a video on the blog. Well, anyway, I have step-by-step instructions on how to make perfectly shaped veggie burgers.
That video's not been published yet.
Well, I have a blog post though too.
Yeah.
I have a post. If you go to the Nutmeg Notebook, click on recipes and click on burgers, then you'll see there's a post there on how to make perfectly shaped ones. And then I just like to cook them on the stove top, and I like to do them in, I have a ceramic pan, or I have a nonstick pan from Costco that works really well too. And I just like to brown them about 4 minutes per side in those pans, and they turn out much better for me. And then I freeze them. So when I make them, I make big batches. I like to have at least 2 dozen, and then I'll individually wrap them and put them in the freezer. And to reheat, you can either reheat them in the microwave, you can put them back in the skillet, or it's really good to put them in the air fryer because then they get a little crispy on the outside, they stay nice and soft on the inside, and they're so delicious that way. So that's my answer on the veggie burgers. And let's see. Oh, when the person asked about frozen products, if we use frozen fruit or vegetables, we like the little wild blueberries from Trader Joe's. And then from Costco, we buy the big bag of blueberries. Tom has those in his oats for breakfast every morning. And those are organic. We buy the organic cherries, the organic mango, the organic pineapple. And at Whole Foods, I buy the frozen jackfruit. And we like to use those fruits either to make the cobbler or to make the nice cream. And you can even, we saw at Smart and Final, they had bananas already sliced and frozen, which would make it really easy to make banana ice cream if you didn't have any ripe bananas. Do you roast chickpeas in your Breville, the oven, or the Milky, and which do you prefer? So I like to do them in my Breville just because you can do such a large quantity, like 400 degrees. Drain the can, rinse them, add back in about a teaspoon or 2 of the aquafaba, the cooking liquid in the can, or if you make your own homemade, and then add some seasonings to it. You know, it's nice to use a seasoning blend like a Greek or an Italian or a Cajun that's no salt, of course, and then 400 degrees, and how long is just going to depend on how big the chickpeas are and how moist they are. So like every 5 minutes you'll want to shake them or move them around with a spatula, and it can take, you know, it can take like 10 or 15 minutes. Then put them in an airtight container once they've cooled, and if they get soft, which they usually do, then pop them back in to the air fryer and crisp them up again. And those are really nice for croutons, or they're great travel snacks or hiking, biking. They work great for that. Someone wanted to know what I know about the almond cow. I really don't know anything about the almond cow. I know that it's a device that you can use to easily make almond milk. We buy our almond milk, or you can easily make it. You don't have to buy the expensive nuts. You can, we don't use a lot of nut butters, but I keep some on hand for our grandbabies. But the raw almond butter, I just buy these little packets, and then if we run out of Tom's almond milk that he uses for his breakfast cereal, you can just take a tablespoon of raw either almond or cashew butter and mix it with like 3 cups of filtered water in your high-powered blender. You probably don't even have to use a high-powered. It could probably be any blender. And just whirl it up, and you have like instant nut milk. And no mess. You don't have all that pulp to deal with, and it's no mess. But if you look up that almond cow, I've seen different conversations going on about it in different groups on Facebook, and you know, people seem to really like it that make a lot of almond milk. We just wouldn't need to make our own almond milk. Then the other question I have, do you ever make curries using canned coconut milk? And I don't use canned coconut milk because it is very high in saturated fat, which is horrible for your LDL cholesterol. Even though it is a plant food, it's one of the very few that has saturated fat. So what I will do in place of that, if I have a recipe that calls for coconut milk, is I will use unsweetened almond milk and about a half a teaspoon of coconut extract, and it will give you that flavor but none of the saturated fat. So I have a problem with LDL cholesterol, which is what sent me to a whole food plant-based diet to begin with. So I do not indulge in canned coconut milk. Okay. Another person said that they have a problem wanting to continue to eat even after they are comfortably full. So that's probably a habit that you have established. You should listen to Dr. Lyle's, he has a video called, help me with what the name of it is. We heard that lecture in Vegas. The Cram Cycle.
The Cram Cycle.
Yeah.
Google Dr. Doug Lyle, Cram Circuit.
The Cram Circuit, that's it.
And it talks a lot about habitual eating and why cravings occur and wantings happen, but they're...
Even after you're full, but you still want to eat. So I would listen to that. And that, again, you're going to have to establish a new habit. So maybe you make a plate of food. You don't put bowls of food out. Don't serve family style. Make your plate of food, and then have a rule that you have to wait 20 minutes when you're done eating before you go back for seconds. Because chances are, if you wait that 20 minutes, that desire to eat more is going to fade and pass. Because remember, it's just a sensation, and a sensation passes, and you don't have to feed a sensation. And so sit that out and see what happens after 20 minutes. Now, initially, it's going to take discipline and willpower to make that work. So you don't want to just be sitting and looking at the clock for 20 minutes, right? So you want to be doing an activity, something that will distract you, something out of the kitchen. So, finish eating, put your plate in the dishwasher or hand wash it, however you do it, leave the kitchen and wait it out and see what happens. Somebody else said their challenge is wanting something sweet every day. And that also has become a habit probably to have dessert. And so substitute fruit for that. Also, earlier in the day, if you start out with dark leafy greens, they have something in them called thylakoids. You can look this up. It's been scientifically proven that they have something called thylakoids. Thylakoids work like an appetite suppressant and they help curb cravings. Fantastic, right? Something healthy for you has that effect. So especially if you start out with that in the morning, if you start your day in a savory way, as Chef AJ says, that will help you curb cravings and the desire for sweet things the entire rest of the day. So, as Americans, we've been taught to start our day in a sweet way, and that just sets us up to want sweets more all day long. We get that rise in our blood glucose, and then it drops, and then we want more because we want to try to bring it up. So if you can at least by noon get some dark leafy greens in you, that will help. But even better if you could do that at breakfast time. And then initially, again, it's going to take discipline and willpower to not give in and have high sugary, high fat desserts. Try to go for the sweeter fruits initially, like mango and pineapple. The tropical fruits are bananas. They are higher in natural sugar. And then, try to taper that down to being able to be satisfied with apples and oranges and berries and persimmons and pears. Okay, I think, and someone said as regarding dark leafy greens or vegetables for breakfast, which is part of the Chef AJ Ultimate Weight Loss Plan, she said, I just can't seem to enjoy them. If you wait until you are truly hungry, they will taste so much better. Like hunger is the best seasoning of all. That's something that Chef AJ always says, but it's so true. Now, I would not be able to gag those down at like 5 o'clock in the morning, but when I'm really hungry, then the savory breakfast tastes amazing. And then you always want to follow that with some sort of starch for satiety. Otherwise, a couple hundred calories of non-starchy vegetables is not going to keep you full probably until lunchtime. So the other thing I wanted to tell you guys before Tom gets to the questions is I love herbal teas. And like I had mentioned, we are in Northern California, and it has been really windy, super windy here, as you guys know from the news. And we're so sorry for all of our friends that are suffering with power outages right now. We're very fortunate that the community we live in, our city, has its own electric company. We are not reliant on PG&E, so we have not suffered from any of the power blackouts, but the communities around us have, and we have friends who have been going through not having power. So we hope that everyone is safe and that we get past this really soon. So I love hot herbal teas, and I just wanted to show you guys some of my favorites. I love the one from Trader Joe's, the pumpkin one, but these are also great, and you don't have to have a Trader Joe's. So this is the Celestial Seasonings, the Bengal Spice. I love it. It's cinnamony and tastes really good, and they even have this at Target and Whole Foods, the regular grocery stores, any place that sells the Celestial Seasonings. Then this Yogi brand is the licorice, the Egyptian licorice, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites. I usually carry one in my purse, so if I order herbal tea at a restaurant and I don't like any of the herbal flavors they have, I'll just have them bring me the hot water, and then I can pop that in myself. This Good Earth sweet and spicy one is another cinnamony one, which is so great this time of year. You know, if you have people coming over, just brew a whole pot of it because everybody loves it. It tastes like it's sweetened, but it's not. And then this is Heather's Tummy Teas. This is the fennel tummy tea. And I started having this because I was having some digestive issues. It's supposed to be good for people with like irritable bowel syndrome. So if you have IBS or something, I don't have that. But after a few rounds of some antibiotics, my lower GI was so messed up, and this has really helped me. And I like to brew a big cup of it with one of the Egyptian licorice and one of the fennel, and the two of them together. Oh my gosh, this is so good, you guys. And I think these are on our Amazon page, and it's so delicious. And you can get, like, I usually do the 2 bags in this. What do I want to call this?
Well, that's a Starbucks cup.
Well, it's a Starbucks cup.
Starbucks
there's no Starbucks in it. But I like to do the 2 bags in
about a
this.
20 ounce.
22
ounce.
Yeah, insulated. And then I can brew 2 big cups out of 1 bag of the Heathers. So I'll brew 1 and then I'll reuse the bag a second time. Not the Egyptian licorice though. I only use the bag once from that. But these I use twice, and they're so good. So anyway, if you guys like hot tea, these are some of my standard favorites that I like to keep on hand. Okay, more questions.
Yeah, I'm going to scroll back up to the
take a
top
drink
here.
of tea because all this talking, I'm going to get hoarse.
Yeah, I'm scrolling back up to the top of the feed here. Mary Calderwood says that she's looking for inspiration. So always just stay on YouTube or on the boards or on the blogs and looking to where people are, we're all in the journey together, and we're all inspiring each other. So just stay connected and stay in the community, Mary, and we're glad you're here.
Yeah, when I originally started eating whole food plant-based, because we didn't know anybody locally and we didn't know about the Sacramento Vegan Society yet. And so I listened to YouTube videos and I listened to podcasts every day. So I listened to everything I could find about from Doug Lyle and Dr. Esselstyn and Dr. Furman and Dr. Greger.
For Mary, if you're still with us, because these questions are from about 45 minutes ago. Mary, same thing. Tami really brought us a lot of information from a lot of resources. There's so much available online. So Mary Setter was asking about getting started and where do you find the research.
We have a video all about our journey. It was something that we did in the last 6 months.
It's named Our Plant-Based Journey. It's in the live video section on our
YouTube channel. And it's all about how we got started. And I show you books in there that are really good to get when you're first starting out. And I also give you a whole list of documentaries to watch. So watch that YouTube video.
Okay. Joan's going to try my Mexican chopped salad.
Nice.
Angela Harlan is asking, have we done in the past, or do we plan on doing any videos about plant-based Thanksgiving or holiday meals in general?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions about that. If you go to the blog, or Tom can post it too, a link. I did a video. I didn't do a video. I did a blog post last year talking about what we like to have for Thanksgiving. So maybe next Tuesday, I just got back home last week and I didn't have time to prepare for a Thanksgiving video today. But we love to make a shepherd's pie. That is perfect. A vegan shepherd's pie is perfect for Thanksgiving because it's lentils and veggies on the bottom. It's garlic mashed potatoes on top. And that is just a really nice, you make it in a 9x13 casserole dish, so it feeds a lot of people, and you can take that as your contribution to the meal if you're going to someone's house. And the recipe that I like, it's online. You can find it online. It's in the Vegan Under Pressure cookbook, but she also has it online, Jill Newsonow. So if you look up Jill Newsonow's Vegan Shepherd's Pie, you'll find it on her website. And so that's really delicious. And I think in that blog post, I give a link to it. There's a lentil loaf that we like. I think I linked to that as well. I think Thanksgiving's a really easy meal for whole food plant-based eaters to do, because so much of the meal is plant-based. Sweet potatoes, you don't need yucky brown sugar or marshmallows or anything like that on them. You can just simply roast those in the oven, and they're so delicious. And if you have an air fryer and you can air fry them, they're even more delicious after that. So, Brussels sprouts, that's another big thing that people have at Thanksgiving. We love Chef AJ's recipe for those, and that's in this cookbook.
We should probably try and do some more details on that for next week. Then.
Yeah, so maybe next Tuesday we'll try to do more details on that.
But go to that one blog post.
But go to that blog post, because we have the blog post up from last year, and I gave a lot of ideas on what we were eating.
Yeah. Do you remember, a new question, do you remember
Yes.
how long it took to get from 174 pounds to 125?
Yeah, I don't, because, I wasn't 174 pounds when I started plant-based. I was probably like 155 or so, because I never went all the way back up. And I'm hypothyroid, so losing weight takes a lot of time for me. So I don't know how long it took me. I was really focused on being healthy, getting my LDL cholesterol down, and just trying to create the whole plant-based lifestyle. And, the weight loss was a fabulous side effect of that. So I don't know how long it took me. It took a while. Maybe it took 5 or 6 months.
What about JSP's sticking to, okay, I just moved my mouse and I lost it, sticking to the mesh of the air fryer.
Yeah, let me show you what we use. Let me grab
here it is. JSP is sticking to the Milky Crisp Lid. Any suggestions? I don't like to leave any behind. It's easy to soak and clean up though, so she's talking about getting them out.
Yes, so you can, there's this.
That's from Debbie Eshe.
So this is one of our Breville.
Yeah, cut one of these to fit the crisp lid. So
we have, these are on our Amazon page.
crispy cooker mats.
These are grilling. These are the grilling
They're
mats.
both on there.
They're both on there.
The prices on those change. They're the same product, but they keep fluctuating in price, and so I've got them both listed on there. But you just get a pair of scissors and cut it to fit whatever basket you're using.
Yeah.
Makes cleanup so much easier.
So they're either the grill mats or the crispy cooking mats. And they do just help, because most of the sticky lands on this instead of the metal. And it's the same with the Milky, because the Milky air frying mesh rack is made very similar to this one. So that's what we have found works. And then soaking it right away in the hot soapy water makes it easier to clean, as you have already discovered.
A question from Kimberly about dehydrating fruits and veggies. Actually, we don't use the dehydrator so much for fruits and veggies. Tammy's usually making an oat-based
Cookies, granola,
that sort of thing.
Kale chips.
Dehydrating the fruits and veggies increases their calorie density.
Well, it's not a problem for the vegetables, but for the fruit.
Fruits. We eat so much of that stuff fresh. We're not really.
Yeah, we don't use it for the fruit, but but you can for like travel. That makes it really nice.
Michelle's asking about eating out. That restaurant food has a lot of salt. Yes, it does.
That is the one thing. We can get oil-free, we can get sugar-free, but unless you just order a salad, or if you have somebody just make you steamed vegetables, and then you order some, if they, like an Asian restaurant, and you can get just steamed rice that they haven't done anything to, then you can get no salt. But otherwise, you're right, you're going to get some salt. And we're very fortunate here in Northern California where we live that we have a handful of restaurants locally where the proprietors have made no oil menus, because there's so many of us that are eating this way now.
We still find that they have too much salt from time to time, though.
And sometimes they're just too salty because they don't cut back on this. They really don't cut back on the salt.
Question from Capri. Does your appetite decrease as your weight decreases, or do you still eat the quantity that you did before you lost the weight?
You know, the appetite is going to fluctuate depending on your activity level, your metabolism, you know, that that's kind of I think an individual thing. So a lot of people ask me, well, in order to maintain, did you just start adding back in more high calorie foods? No, because when you weigh less, your body needs less calories. Unless you're extremely active, unless you know, are very, very physical. So when I weighed 174 pounds, my body needed more calories just at rest than I need at 125 pounds. So I eat pretty similar now, I think, to how I did when I was losing weight. But when you're more overweight, you have a little more wiggle room, I call it. So you can, you know, take in some extra calories and still lose weight, because it takes more calories for your body just to function at a base level. But as you get smaller and smaller, you need fewer calories. So
kind of a variation on that same note, though, as I moved away from eating foods that would like burn up right away in my system or not fill me up to begin with, and then I wind up being hungry. Since I've gone plant-based, I have far fewer cravings and far fewer wantings in the middle of the morning or in the middle of the day. I remember back, you know, years ago, I would eat breakfast and be hungry an hour and a half later after eating a bunch of stuff we don't really talk about anymore. But now I eat my oats and banana, blueberry, quinoa breakfast, and it lasts me pretty much all the way till lunch. So we have a question from Debbie. When we were going towards a whole food plant-based diet, I think she means during transition, was there a plant-based food that you used for ground meat substitute in recipes?
Oh, we like to use lentils a lot, cooked lentils. So like in a marinara sauce or in chili, the lentils kind of gives you a similar texture, and it will give you a similar look also. So we kind of like to use the lentils.
And transitionally, if you're in a transition phase, I did use some field roast products and tofurkey products.
But we don't recommend them because they're high in oil.
They're so full of oil and so full of, you know, isolates this, you know, very not whole food. They are not a whole food plant-based food. They did get me psychologically, I was able to move away from animal products with that. So
a lot of men seem to need to use the transitional, we call them transitional products. But you don't want to get hung up on those either, because although they're healthier than eating the animal products,
they're just gain weight on those.
Yeah, they're full of salt, oil, and a lot of times sugar as well. But try the lentils. Lentils work really well. So just the green or the brown lentils, you can cook them in the Instant Pot, or you can cook them on top of the stove, and then you can use those, and it'll kind of mimic. But you know, if you're trying to cook for your family, it's almost better to not try to recreate their old favorite things initially, because they're going to compare them, and they're probably not going to taste.
Start finding new favorite things.
Yeah, find new favorite recipes.
Okay. Deb is asking if we have a video on cobblers. You just did a blog post on the cherry peach cobbler.
If you go to I don't think we have a video, but we have a blog post.
Yeah.
So I have one for peach pie. I think that's the last blog post. And then if you do a search for the cherry peach cobbler, you'll find that recipe. Those are both on the blog, but I don't think we did videos for them. I think they're just blog posts.
So we have a couple of listeners, Cindy and Karen, both asking about recommendations for single people cooking whole food plant-based. I don't have a plant-based family or friends, so socializing is difficult. Karen says single too, and was surprised to see there are vegan dating sites. Okay.
Oh, there are.
Okay. Yeah, and that kind of falls under our vegan meetup community conversation. I think a quick comment on that.
So what's the question? What is the question?
Recommendations for single people cooking whole food plant-based.
Oh.
Because there's not a family. If you look at what Tami posts on Instagram or what we put on the YouTube videos or on Facebook, it is, people do comment regularly, wow, that's a lot of food. Do you guys, is it just for you guys? Really what we're showing you on all of our media outlets is really just for the two of us. When Tami does batch cook a bunch of soups and stuff, we do send some home with our 30-year-old son if he happens to be passing through that weekend. But when you're eating vegetables and a low-calorie density items, you get to eat a lot of food. So whatever you see Tami doing, just kind of cut it in half.
Yeah, so you could cut it in half or less, because I might be a bigger eater than you are, because we're very physically active, so we don't have a lot of time to sit during the day. We start our day out with a 4-mile walk, so every day we have between like 10 and 15,000 steps that we've done. So we're very physically active, which is great because we get to eat a lot of food because of that. So it just depends on, what your caloric needs are, which could be completely different from mine. And then they also vary from day to day, because if we go on a hike for, 9 or 10 miles, then we're going to need some more food that day just to fuel us so we can do all of that. But you can take recipes and you can cut the recipes in half. And if you have the freezer space, then go ahead and freeze some things ahead of time, for future meals. You can put them either in freezer containers, or you can use the freezer bags. If you don't have a lot of freezer space, the freezer bags will lay flat, which is great because you can stack them and you can get a lot more in a small space. So that way you don't have to be cooking all the time either, but also you won't have to eat the same thing all week long. Now, I wouldn't mind eating the same thing for 4 or 5 days in a row, just because, I love the food I eat. And if it's simple and easy, we're kind of at a point now where I just don't chase recipes. I just want to eat and have it not be a really big deal. So, and also we don't eat a ton of recipes. Like when we batch cook, we're batch cooking a lot of ingredients that we put together then, and we make a meal out of them. So as long as we have grains and potatoes made, and then we have our salads made, and we have vegetables in stock, and we have beans. So we will just take, and that's in our fast food video. We have a video called Fast Food, and you can see we'll take a bowl and we'll put a grain in it, let's say brown rice and some power greens from Costco, and maybe a cup of beans, and we heat that up and drizzle a little bit of balsamic vinegar over the top, and that's a meal. Or you could do salsa and you can turn it into Mexican. And so we do a lot of ingredients that then we pull together for the week. And I think that's like the perfect way to cook if you're a single person, and it makes it super easy.
I want to give a shout out to Eamon Ryan. Back when you were showing all the frozen foods,
yeah.
Eamon popped in here and said that my food is so frozen, I started singing "Let It Go." From the movie Frozen.
That's cute.
Are you going to start breaking to "Let It Go" song?
No,
in the freezer?
I don't sing. Tom sings. I don't sing. I can't.
Okay.
I don't have a singing voice. That's funny though. That's great. So we do get that question quite a bit from people who maybe they're not single, but they're the only person in their family who eats this way, and so they want to know, how to navigate that. And I think cut recipes in half, but then freeze some of it so that you're not having to cook all the time. That way, at least a couple nights a week, you can just pull something out from the freezer. You can have chili one night, or you can have, marinara sauce over zucchini noodles one night, so that you can mix it up too.
Debbie John, she says, this way of eating is difficult if you're not allowed to have any nutritional yeast. Any suggestions on modifying not having nutritional yeast?
Well, I guess it depends on the recipe. A lot of recipes you can just leave it out. If it only is calling for a couple tablespoons or even up to a quarter of a cup in like a soup or a gravy, you can use mushroom powder instead to, replace a flavor. It's not going to be the same flavor, of course. It's going to be a different flavor. So like Local Spicery has, I can't remember the name of it, and it's in the pantry, but they have one that is made with dehydrated mushrooms, and so it'll give the soup or whatever you're making a more earthy, that umami flavor. So you can do that. If it's a cheese sauce, Chef AJ has a recipe. It's on one of her YouTube videos to make a vegan cheese sauce that does not have any nutritional yeast in it. And she oven roasts all of the vegetables for that. So that gives a lot of depth of flavor to the sauce. And I haven't tried it, but people who have said that it is really, really good. So we don't use a lot of nutritional yeast. I just have a couple recipes, I think, that have that. I do have Donna's vegan cheese sauce that has it in it, and my Alfredo sauce has that in it as well. So, I mean, you really can't make that cheese sauce without it, because you would need to substitute something to give it a flavor. But smoked paprika adds a lot of flavor. Maybe you can use that. I mean, it just depends on what the recipe is.
A question from Stephanie. What do you microwave and don't microwave? I remember in one of your previous videos that we use certain containers for microwaving. There is a Tuesday with Tami on food storage, and I think that's the one you're referring to. And the comment we were making is that the Ziploc and the Tupperware products that we use for keeping food frozen or fresh in the refrigerator, we never put in the microwave. That we use glass or ceramic dishes for that. So you'll find that's where that comment's coming from. It's the food storage
video
live, from 3 or 4 weeks ago. You'll find it in the library. But yeah, just if it's plastic, we don't heat anything up in the microwave.
Yeah, we use glass.
They
mostly
work great for food storage, but everything we do is PFOA free, BPA free, all this stuff. But it's just never a good idea to heat up plastic, because then you don't know.
And we don't put the plasticware in the dishwasher either, because that intense heat in the dishwasher, they say, breaks down the plastic. And so we hand wash any of the plastic containers that we use. We hand wash all of those and don't put those in the dishwasher, and don't microwave them. Even if they say microwave safe, we just don't microwave them.
So Bengal spice tea, is it like chai or sweet and spicy? I thought the Bengal spice to me is sweet and spicy.
It has cinnamon, roasted chicory, roasted carob, natural spice, and vanilla flavors with ginger, cardamom, black pepper, cloves, and nutmeg. So it doesn't really taste like
a dandelion chai that I drink sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't really taste like a chai to me, but it's just a nice cinnamony, nice flavor. So.
Okay. All right.
They say it's a caffeine-free interpretation of chai. That's what they say.
Mary, be in touch. Just send Tami a DM on Facebook if you'd like. Let's see. Everyone is born a vegan? That's a good point. Our 3 grandchildren were born vegan. They still are. That's from Eamon again. Okay, getting down to the end here. I haven't seen these before because I was up above in the feed. Yes, we do. I like the Egyptian lectures.
Yes, we do what?
Like the Egyptian lectures. Do we make shepherd's pie in the Instant Pot? The potatoes.
I make the components in
Yeah.
the Instant Pot. So go to Jill Newson Now's website and look up her shepherd's pie, vegan shepherd's pie.
Okay, here's.
And you'll find the recipe. And I use my own Instant Pot garlic mashed potatoes. I don't use her recipe. And then I add more vegetables to the base that she has because I just want it to be more and thicker. And I don't use the flour that she calls for, and I don't use salt. And if she calls for oil, I can't remember, but I eliminate any oil. And then I double the lentils. You also cook the lentils in the Instant Pot. And I double them so that I can make it into a 9x13 casserole dish. And even people who eat the standard American diet at our Thanksgiving will take that because it is so delicious. It's really very good. And I think there's also, she might call for soy sauce or something, and you can just use balsamic vinegar in place of that if you don't want the sodium from it.
Kristen's asking how many starches do you eat in a day? My answer would be as many as I want or until I'm full. Because they're
until we're comfortably
full.
So I usually have a Japanese sweet potato with my chopped salad at lunchtime, just because that's like my favorite thing to have in it. Unless I'm hungry for like Mexican food, then instead of a Japanese sweet potato, I'll have rice and beans. But usually it's a Japanese sweet potato, and then I usually have some kind of starch at the evening meal too. And if it's in a soup, then it might be potatoes or it might be rice or quinoa. Or if I'm, like last night, I was on my way home and I called Tom and he said he was just getting ready to start chopping his salad. And I said, well, would you put smashed potatoes in the air fryer for me? And so he did about a pound of, I'm guessing because we don't weigh it, but from looking at it, I would say it was probably about a pound of Yukon Gold potatoes that we had batch baked.
I got the last 5 bites though.
Well, I gave you like 3 of them, I think.
Yeah.
3 of the potatoes. And so I had those air fried. And when I got home, then I threw a couple of the no-bean veggie burgers from Chef AJ's book in the air fryer because they had about 10 minutes left, the potatoes did. And then a bunch of fresh broccoli. And so that was my evening meal.
Okay,
So we have starch. Tom has starch at breakfast because he has oats at breakfast, and I don't eat breakfast. My first meal of the day is lunch. Oh, did we lose our...
No, keep going. This is
Okay.
going here. It's doing something.
It's just your computer's acting
Yeah,
funny?
yeah.
Okay, it's his computer's spinning, so...
But we better finish up. It's been an hour and a half.
Well, then we need to get going. So this has been really fun, you guys. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to...
One last question.
Okay, one last question.
From Sous Chef, we're going to be doing a video on sauces soon. The question is, do you have some favorite go-to sauces for making veggies taste good in a hurry?
Yeah, try the vegan Alfredo sauce. That has become super popular. People are sending us Facebook messages and emails telling us how much they love it. We have a YouTube video as well as a blog post all about the vegan Alfredo sauce, and I have to say, it is really, really tasty. So try that because it's good not only on like zucchini noodles, pasta if you eat pasta, also a baked potato with some broccoli, mushrooms, and onions. It's delicious on that as well. So
yeah, and then
give it a try.
And then we're checking out Dylan's sauces from Well Your World, and we'll be talking about those on a future video.
Yeah.
So
Thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and then click on that little bell that's next to it because that's how you get notifications every time we either go live or we have a new video up. And if you liked this video, would you please share it in your favorite Facebook groups because that helps us to reach more people who need to have this information. If you haven't subscribed to the blog yet, oh my gosh, you guys, go over to nutmegnotebook.com and subscribe. You'll get those 2 exclusive recipes that are just for subscribers, and one is for this amazing curry ginger butternut squash soup, which is perfect for Thanksgiving. You want to know something to make for Thanksgiving, make that soup. Serve it up in mugs as a nice welcoming, have a little appetizer when people come to the house, or you can serve it in a bowl as a first course, and it is absolutely delicious. So there's hundreds of recipes on the blog that we have yet to make videos for. There's just not enough hours in the day. So thanks so much for watching.
Yeah. The last question just came in. Teresa's asking, when does our next class start? We're doing our next UWL Live in-person class beginning January 4th, Saturday, January 4th, concluding on January 25th. We will be putting that up on the Meetup and on our blog site. We're publishing or opening enrollment for that on November 1st. So,
and what they're talking about, it is an in-person class. So if you live in the Sacramento area, we are doing a 4-week class. We are certified weight loss instructors for Chef AJ's Ultimate Weight Loss Plan, and we will be doing a 4-week class locally that's in person. I'll be making a plant-based meal each week for the participants, and we'll probably cap this at 12 people. So we already know that we have 6 people that were interested in it. So be sure to sign up. It will be posted on the blog on Friday. So thanks a lot, you guys. We really appreciate you watching. I'm Tami.
And I'm Tom.
And we help you get healthy and stay healthy, one meal at a time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.